another great season in tennis for McKinney Boyd. I'm joined by their coach, Kristen Crawford, and you had another team make it to state, not necessarily expected like some of your past players that have gone on to state. You had a mixed doubles team with Frankie Jecker and Braden Lowe's that made it as a mixed double team, and they weren't necessarily a duo that outside of school played in necessarily all the ZAT tournaments and tried to get up to the champ and super champ ranking. They kind of really learned their craft through you at Boyd.
They played some of the tournaments. Frankie was she was a champ and she almost was a super champ. But all the doubles and everything that they did, they learned that at Boyd. Braden started off his freshman year playing JV, and even his freshman and sophomore year, he didn't make varsity until his junior year of playing at McKinney Boyd. And Frankie started off her freshman year playing just the bottom of the line, and sometimes she would be in the lineup, but she wasn't a starting player as a freshman. So everything that they did, they definitely they had to work for, and just seeing them move from their level of play consistently rise each year, and their skills and the strategies that they were developing and the doubles, it was truly something that they had to work for throughout all 4 years. They didn't come in and jump and were immediately line one, line two players that were expected to go to state. It was a sweet surprise, and we were really excited for them.
You have, of course, district is a very tough district with the likes of Plano West and et cetera in that district. And then you go to regionals, and a lot of the Austin schools are very strong in that regional. So the journey for them wasn't necessarily easy to get to state.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, we played Plano West 5 times, I believe, before we were actually finally able to pull off the match with them. Every single time it was close. We played them 2 or 3 times in tournaments, and then even at district, we played them at district, and we lost to them, and we were the runners-up to go to regionals. And then once we got to regionals, of course, Westlake took us out, who was eventually the state champions. And then Plano West was taken out too, so we played them for 3rd. And we got up a set, and then we lost a set, and finally they realized that this was it. Do it now or go home. They're both seniors. This is their last match if they don't pull this one out. And they turned it on, and they beat Plano West for the first time all season long. And then they were able to go on and play in that playback match to get to regionals. So
such a huge match to finally beat Plano West. And as a coach, you're there in between games when they switch sides. You can kind of come give them a little bit of advice, but they have to make the corrections on the court themselves. How much of an influence do you think you had on their ability to finally pull out that match?
At this level, when they're playing it, we've given them the tools. They know the strategy. I can remind them the strategy. Mostly it was, calming them down and encouraging them, and, telling, just the little things. You don't want to give them, anything huge when they're already, stressed that, oh my gosh, this is it. I do it now or I go home and I've got to win. So, it was reminding them that, they've been given the tools, they've been given the weapons, and they know what they need to do, and just reminding them to implement that in a match. So.
They make it to state. They take on a New Braunfels team, a brother and sister team. So that's always tricky because they have that extra connection that, Frankie and Braden necessarily don't have because, they're not siblings like the New Braunfels team. They lost 6-2, 6-1, but a very good New Braunfels team they played.
Oh, it was an incredible team, and then we watched them, the next day play against Westlake, and that match went to 3 sets. And, just the chemistry that both those two teams that played, in that state finals is just amazing to watch the chemistry. And I think it's not necessarily that they had that much better chemistry on the court, because Frankie and Braden had some really good chemistry on the court, but I think they were a little bit looser during the big points, and they had a little bit more of a solid stroke when they needed to have it, when they needed to pull out, being aggressive at the big points. They were able to do it, whereas we got a little bit tight here and there.
The last couple of seasons, when you did have players make it through state, it was in the singles. You had Parker McGinnis make the boys singles state last year, and McKenna Max has made state a couple of times throughout her career. And so now with a mixed doubles team going through, that's really showing the depth that anybody in Boyd can really, whether it's boys doubles, girls doubles, mixed doubles, anybody can get through to that state title.
Well, and that's exactly, what we told the kids, and, I talked to some of my kids that are on JV. Braden's a true testament right there of, if you want something and you work hard, you want to put in the time and the dedication to it, you can go from JV and you can work your way up. And I think he and Frankie have both been a great example that, you might not be, one of the top ranked players in the state, but there's still a possibility if you work hard of making it.
And he still had great results in the regional tournament in singles. You had Gunnar Robson and Morgan Nix able to get to the regional tournament. Morgan losing in the quarterfinals. Gunnar finished in third place, so strong performances from both of those.
Right, exactly. Morgan, she's just a sophomore, and she won the district championship in our tough district with Plano West and Plano East and Allen and all of those schools. And Gunnar, he stepped it up from last year, playing line 3 and in the fall of last year, and then playing doubles in the spring last year. This year he stepped it up in the fall, played line 1, played boys singles for us, and he went undefeated in the fall, was our MVP for the whole entire district. And it's tough to go from line 3 and step it up in our district and play a line 1 and not lose a match. And and then especially go on in our region, I think it's one of the toughest regions in the state, and come out third. I think the 2 kids that played in the state finals are the 2 kids from our region that beat him. So it's a testament to him of how much hard work and how much he stepped up and filled some big shoes. So
back all the way in the fall, you have the team tennis season, and you had a couple in district of 10-9 losses. You're trying to get the 10 points to clinch that, and it was 9-all a couple of times, and you just couldn't edge it out against both Plano East and Allen.
After losing 12 seniors last year, it was hard to build the lineup and get the kids where they needed to be, but they did it. They worked hard in practice and they stepped up. And when we needed it, Plano East, when we had played them earlier in the fall, just in our district round robin, it was the score wasn't close. I think it was like 5-11, something like that. And then when we get to the district tournament, and we knew it, we needed to play, and they went out there and we were up in doubles 4-3, and then it got dark, so then we had to move from Plano East to Collin County because Plano East didn't have lights. And we fought out on those courts, and it got to where it was 9-all, came down to the very last match, third set of a last match, and we just couldn't quite pull it out in that last match. And the one that lost that last match, she was absolutely devastated. And I had to remind her, there were 10 other. This was a team. There were 10 other matches that gave it their all too and couldn't quite pull it out. So, everybody together, and we left our hearts out on that court. They played their hearts out that night, and then we had to turn around the next night, the very next day, and play Allen. And same kind of thing, went down to 9-all, but I don't know where they found even more energy from what, I was worried that it wouldn't even be close. And once again, they stepped it up, and somewhere they dug deep, and they found whatever they had left and played their hearts out again, and again 9-all and down to that last match. So we ended up 4th, but to see those kids fight and see those kids step up.
And really remarkable in that second match, especially because conditioning is such a big part of tennis. And just within a single match, you can see sometimes players fade away in those final sets because they may not have hydrated well enough, they may not have that stamina in them, but your team was able to go out, and the next day, usually in tennis you'd like to have a couple of days of rest to recover before playing another match. They had to play another one immediately against a team more rested than you, and yet they're able to do that. It really shows a lot from the character of your team all season long.
It shows their heart. We had a couple that in that match against Plano East that had cramped the night before, and but they wouldn't take no. They were going to go out, they were going to play, and it shows the heart for their team, and just you're right, it definitely shows their character and how much they're willing to put forth for each other and for their coaches and for themselves. So.
And when it came down to in team tennis, those single matches, and suddenly some people start to finish their matches and they can go watch others, what was it like having for some of the players on court, even in some defeats, having their teammates there to support them?
Oh, that's always a huge part. If you have your your teammates there cheering for you and, screaming and hollering when you win a good point or, hit a great serve, it gives you the additional adrenaline, it gives you the additional, encouragement to keep on going. So.
Obviously, you have a few seniors leading. Frankie and Braden are seniors that are graduating, as well as Gunnar and a couple of others. Going into next season, though, what are you looking forward to most about trying to improve and build on what you accomplished this year?
Oh, I think we're looking at, just exactly doing that, continuing to take some of these newer players that we've gotten, continue molding them in doubles, because I mean that's the first thing you've got to work on. We've got to get our doubles down so that when we go into those matches, we can get up in doubles. Doubles is the first thing that we play, so if we can be up 4-3, 5-2, 6-1 or something in doubles, that's going to make it a lot easier when we go on the court in singles. So continuing to focus on double strategies and being aggressive and encouraging them to get out and play as much as possible.
Well, Coach, congratulations on a great year overall and getting more players to state like you do every year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
As Coach Kristen Crawford from McKinney Boyd, again, they got a mixed doubles pair in Frankie Jecker and Braden Lowe's to the state tournament this year. They eventually fell in the quarterfinals, but McKinney Boyd continues year after year to churn out players that make it to state.